We there? Yay! Look, it's happening. Bring it in. Fridays with Jarod, live from Paris. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. There's David Thorpe.
One day, and for Passover, we always say next year in Jerusalem. I can't wait for the day where we do this and Jarod really is in Paris.
Yes.
And feels safe to be amongst people, right?
Well, that's the thing. I don't even know when we're going to be allowed to go to Paris again.
Exactly.
Now we can't even go there.
Other people can go. Americans can't go.
Yeah, we
just gotta hunker down for a little while.
We're dirty.
Wait, actually, Judy, do you mind? Now's probably as good time as any to show the Adina anniversary.
Yes,
photo?
lovely photo.
Happy
Beautiful
anniversary.
photo.
Oh,
Adina.
sure.
Yeah,
Hang on one second.
Okay, sorry for the surprise. But this was like a little, in lieu of going to Paris, fun things like this, right? This is like, literally my whole family gathered on the laptop downstairs, like, oh, look at Adina's wedding. I think if you scroll, there's one more picture of Adina maybe talking trash at her wedding. Always like that, yeah.
More than one photo of that, I'm sure.
She texted me the other day because Chad was watching the Kid from Coney Island, the Stephon Marbury doc, and she's like, Chad's watching the Stephon Marbury doc, and he's being so like in his element, New Yorkin right now. I'm like, Adina, you just let him flex. It's fine. She's like, fine, whatever.
He needs this.
I'm like, let's give it to him. He just let him have his moment with Marbury.
Yeah, in a pandemic, I really think like, if you can have a moment enjoying your wedding photos, like, yeah, do it. You need that. Yeah, get your your joy going. Okay, on Fridays we do the 9x90, and Jarod, you lead us off.
Yes, indeed. So, ESPN's Malik Andrews, who we talked about yesterday, or last Friday, excuse me, tweeted something that I thought was relatively interesting. Nope, that's the Camus Bell one, but it's okay. We'll get there. So Malika said the league sent out a memo, which was obtained by ESPN to teams, reminding them of campus rules, including wearing face coverings and masks, dressing appropriately when receiving room service, and going through a mandatory educational session on campus rules. The middle comment seems to be buried a little bit there, dressing appropriately when coming to the. So what is exactly happening in this bubble right now, right? I mean, and I said it to everyone in the pre-show notes, this experiment that's going on in this NBA bubble, this light experiment, is going to expose a lot of things that the casual and regular fan has no idea about. Like, these dudes, they just live a completely different, and when I say different life, I mean different life, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you should come to the door in your bathrobe or whatever it is that you're doing, because that ain't cool, right? You got people there who are working, doing their thing. But to me, when I saw that tweet, I was like, dressing a pro, what the, who was it that got the hamburger and stood up to the door in their boxers? Like, who was it? Like, who did that?
I don't think boxers get you a memo, Jarod. I think boxers are pretty common at the hotel door.
Right.
So it might have been something else, which, dear God, help us. Anyway, I'm done.
Okay, so I'm gonna real quick. James Harden's trending on Twitter because he showed up wearing what I thought was a pretty cool looking mask. Turns out it's definitely a Blue Lives Matter mask, and now people are going crazy regarding it. And I just want to share this one quick thing. My daughter came home from work the other day, relatively hysterical that she's not going to get the roommate she thought she had, that she became lifelong friends with in just a matter of a few weeks in a phone call, because the dorms are running out at UCF and all this and that. And my job as her dad is to slow down, calm down. Let's rationally think about this. Let's ask questions. Friday's the day you're meeting with the school. You'll pick your dorm. Long story short, she's in my home right now nearby. Thrilled at the new roommate she has, the new place she's got, everything's fine. Just, we need to be adults. Harden is from, I've heard, Compton. I can't confirm that. I haven't had the time to confirm it. Before I'm accusing anyone of anything ever, we have to slow down, take a deep breath, ask smart questions, including to Mr. Harden, who will be all the time available to people through Zoom calls, whatever, in this NBA bubble. He's one of the most famous players in the world. It won't be hard to figure out what he's thinking. The people I've already checked with think he had no clue that represent anything but a pretty cool-looking mask, and will likely comment on it at some point. He's not on social media much to begin with, if at all. Slow down forevermore, not just for this instance. We'll be smarter for it.
Thank you, David. I get the pink clock. So I had such a strange day yesterday where, the league leaked the rules of the bubble, the medical rules of the bubble, and leaked a while ago, and everything was changing at that time. So I reached out to the league to say basically like, when, I know what the leaked rules say apply to Zion, but are those the rules? And what are the rules? And then some follow-up questions. They give me this statement: once we learn more about Zion's specific, we will determine his reentry protocol based on our rules. It sounds like, well, what are the rules, right? And in a nutshell, and then Adina actually had a good response, which was, it better not be quicker than Richaun Holmes, right? So, great point. The worry would be that a more famous player would get more lenient rules because he can come back sooner and make the league more money, right? So in the leaked version, these are the rules, which basically say that if you've been in the bubble and you have permission to leave and you get tests every day and you follow some protocols, then you can return after 4 days after you come back to campus. You can be reintegrated into the bubble and play. So, but here's my thing. The league sort of insisted that they would not publish the real rules, and they wouldn't give me those. They kind of implied I could use the leaked rules, but this is a miniature government managing very important life and death things, and the rules aren't even known. What government doesn't share the rules? Like, it's crazy. It just gives way too much power. In a nutshell, I think the NBA can greenlight Richaun Holmes or Zion Williamson basically whenever they want, and they can say whatever they want. The rules are so fuzzy. So I'm done. I used all my time.
We'll revisit that.
We'll revisit this.
It's you, Jarod. Oh, you got it.
Oh, Jarod, you're muted. He's muted. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
What happened? Yeah, we don't hear you, Jarod.
Terrible's happened.
You want to reset, Judy, and I'll do it. Oh, here we go.
Still can't hear.
He's still muted.
Right,
I'm sure he's saying really important things. Okay, I can do my second one. Hang on, Jarod.
I was go.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, no, now you're mute again.
Oh, no.
Am I back now?
Yeah.
There you go.
What the heck? Anyway.
This is the opposite of the point of this show.
Quite literally.
All right. Jarod, let's start again. Go for it.
Okay, here I go. So for our good friend Randy, who is not here, I'm going to play one of our favorite hits from the Capitalist Machine, which the #1 selling group and band of all time. They are sold out every concert. Every song is a #1 hit, because that's how this whole game works. So the government right now is fighting about the end of the CARES Act and the extension of that extra $600 a week benefit that people who are on unemployment are getting. You have Republicans and horrible human beings like Mitch McConnell and others saying, well, no, we can't give these people $600 a week because then they won't want to go back to work. $600 a week. Hello, like $600 a week. People who are using that to buy insulin, groceries, pay their rent, right? Basic things, not going out here on fancy trips all over the world. These people are literally holding this up in Congress over $600 a week. This is where we are in America right now. And the pandemic is so real, it is not even funny. And the scary, scary part of all of this is the economic fallout that is happening, because unemployment numbers climb every single day. Another 1.3 million filed again. This is problematic. And as companies start phasing out jobs and they realize, oh, we don't need this, we don't need that, what's going to happen to a workforce now that has workers with no jobs available? Problems.
Yeah, I agree. And no place to live. All right, so the president's spokesperson, I think was yesterday, had the quote, science shouldn't get in the way of reopening schools. And I wrote about this on Facebook yesterday. I'm a Floridian, and we depend on science to know when to bug out, when to put plywood on our windows, when to make sure we get extra water and food and whatever. We watch the Weather Channel constantly when hurricanes are around, right? And I have family and friends living in Florida, North Carolina, New York, whatever. This is how we use science all the time. If someone tells us don't pay attention to that, we're not going to listen. And that's going to lead into my next 90 seconds in a bit. We all depend on science all the time. And just because some lady working for some corrupt dude, really, if anyone working for that corrupt dude tells us something, we have to be more mindful to understand that we just have to ignore them, right? And lives depend on it. That's the bottom line. We're talking about schools. I mentioned to Henry the other day, my friends in Israel are really struggling a little bit because they opened schools back up and they're blaming that for the spread. Whereas in America, they're saying it's more going to bars and being indoors. They think in Israel it's because of schools. They're still researching this. Scientists are still working. We need to listen to them. What else should I have to say?
Just to piggyback off that really quick, David. So Kayleigh McEnany, who is the White House press secretary, Lauren Duca, who is someone I know and who is a media commentator. She was on a segment with Kayleigh McEnany before she became the White House press secretary and shared a conversation she had with her after doing a segment on CNN. They were in an elevator and they were opposing views. So they were in an elevator going back downstairs. This is pre-pandemic. And she said, quote, "It's so easy to profit being a pretty woman who sides with Trump," end quote. Like, this is what is happening and what people are doing out here. Like, it's all about their own personal gain. Who cares what actual stuff I'm actually saying? It doesn't matter because I'm going to enrich myself off this. Shout out to the Capitalist Machine, #1 band of all time.
I was waiting to hear what name of the band really was. Like I say, the Beatles or something. I didn't realize it really was the Capitalist Machine. All right, Henry.
Oh my God, I'm out 2 seconds already. All right, so the New York Times has this cute little story about how Matisse Thybulle is the breakout star of the NBA bubble. Who could argue? Absolutely delightful. However, we were promised some serious Black Lives Matter action from this bubble, right? Like, we were promised sticking it to the man, and it hasn't. It's been cute, and there's been some exceptions, but like, meanwhile, the WNBA is running laps around the NBA players and sticking it to their bosses, right? Maya Moore got a man freed from prison. There's been an uproar about Kelly Loeffler going straight after one of the investors in the Atlanta team. The conditions in the Wubble thing got a ton of action right from the beginning. Atlanta Del Don yesterday. There's a real willingness to confront the league in the WNBA, and Chris Paul sort of flirted with they're going to do that. Michelle Roberts flirted with that, but still really, I mean, we'll see. But so far, I'm a little worried that the key factor here is NBA salaries are way more worth protecting than WNBA salaries, which gives the WNBA players a little more, they just have less to lose here, right? And, I hope, like, when they had the big press conference announcing the agreement, there was a lot of kind of like, just stay tuned. It's going to be big. It's going to be momentous. And we'll see. So far, underwhelming.
Henry, you know what I'm going to say? Shouts to the Capitalist Machine, baby. The hits just keep on coming.
I did know that's what you were going to say. You're right.
So this is a cute little tweet. Judy, you can play this. So, yeah, this is Spain's King Felipe, whatever. He was reminded to put on his mask by Princess Leonor, right? Like, hey, Dad, you can't be talking to people about, COVID lives, people who died, and not wear your mask. Not a good look from a monarch. See, guys, even monarchs got to be reminded by their monarch children to wear masks. But all jokes aside, guys, like, everyone, I mean, this isn't new. Like, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Governor Cuomo here in New York said there's some strong evidence to suggest that restaurants and people attending them are not following rules. Buddy, you don't need strong evidence to suggest. Just go outside and you'll just see it. It's right in front of your face. And look, you all know what's coming. We're going to get a second surge of this thing because nobody is paying attention and doing what they're supposed to do. Everybody's just like, whatever. We're fine. It's warm. I'm doing my own thing. And it's a problem. I yield my remaining 20 seconds.
I accept. So Judy's going to click on the my third one, which is the Tuscaloosa. City of Tuscaloosa, there's a lot of complaints in the state of Alabama and around the country about wearing masks. And the city of Tuscaloosa put out a statement saying, "We have heard your complaints about the mandated face mask requirements in businesses around the city. We wouldn't want you to think we aren't listening. So we would like to formally make an official statement regarding the city's stance on the issue. We literally do not care what you think. Thanks." That made me so incredibly happy. My dad was not a father. He's still alive. He's 80. That gave us just, I don't have a million different things I remember from what my dad said, but he always did say, don't believe the government. I think he felt like after Vietnam, how do you believe anything the government ever tells you again? He lost some friends and family in that. And this is one part of government that we can listen to a little bit. That is a government, tell it like it is. But to a larger point, going back to what I was saying before, it's on us. We've got to take deep breaths. We have to slow down. We have to ask good questions. We have to do reading. And it's on us because the government as a whole is not going to fix this. It's possible the virus could one day go away. Scientists are writing some stuff that in theory in 7-8 months it might disappear, whatever. We can't expect that to happen. We've got to do our thing, wear our mask, be smart, distance, and own our own lives and not depend on anybody else.
Dun, 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 dun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my last point is a simple one. There's a Brad Stevens quote about the Celtics approach for the season, and he just says, "I just want us to have a joyful period." And David and me, I put it in this shared document that we have, and David immediately said, "This guy just gets it." And it's coming off. Yesterday, I had this near religious experience where, as you know, I fell off my bike and I've been injured, and I still been working out. But yesterday, I went for a real long run through the woods, first like real run in a while, and it was cool, and I was by the lake, and the air's on your body, and I was like a grinning idiot, just running like free. There's nobody around. I wasn't wearing a mask, and I just felt like absolutely delightful. And at the same time, my lovely wife's on the school board, and they're figuring out like how to open schools. And I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I know that you got to have moments like this. You need to find great joy, right? And that the Celtics have a coach who's building that into the plan is like, look, this is a miserable time. We're going to look back at this as an absolutely abysmal time. But if you can find a little joy, your day's totally different than if you can't find any, right? So if the Celtics can have some magic, moving the ball around the court, someone can hammer dunk on somebody, like, I'm all for that. It's what we all need. That's what we need. And I'm done.
Well, that leads
All need
in,
some joy.
Henry, I think you should take that right into the outdoor classroom idea you showed me yesterday that's in news today, because I think it's brilliant, and I think people should be thinking about when we talk about how to get back to school. This should be part of it.
Everyone should go to school in 1890. That's my program.
Yeah, we're showing a picture. I think it was the New York Times classroom on a ferry in 1915.
Yeah,
right.
I got the year wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, everything should be outside that can be outside, right? It's, I think, according to the research, I don't know, a month ago, it was an 18th of the risk of transmission outside versus in, right?
An 18th.
1/18. So
yeah.
I'm still mad. Like, why they didn't even investigate, as far as I can tell, basketball outside, right? Like an 18th. Like what?
The same thing.
So it's not easy. And institutions can't just like, you know, when I'm deciding where to run, I can just go or not go based on whether it's raining or not at that moment. But if you're planning things for lots of people, you can't just be like that. You can't just impose it that way. So you would need a whole program of how you're going to do it. But yeah,
is that like an early beanbag chair? What the heck? What?
Yeah, that's a different looking chair for sure. They had heaters though. They were sitting on heaters in the wintertime. It was in the article. I don't remember what kind of heater it was, but
nap time. Yeah.
There's a bunch of kids wrapped up in blankets.
Well, look, I mean, to Judy's point though, right? And to your point, Henry, about outdoors, of course, that's preferable. In a pandemic though, that they're way too close, right? And I think that's what's happening a lot out right now. People are out, oh, you're fine if you're outside. And it's like, no, you still need to be distant outside, right? Like, you don't need to be climbing all over everybody. And that's kind of what we're seeing, at least what I'm seeing.
No, but wind makes a difference where you are. If you're sitting in stifling heat with no wind at all, then only humidity is helping you drag the virus down. And if it's aerosolized, I guess it could be floating longer up, they're saying. But if there's any kind of wind factor, whatever, it mitigates it to some degree. Yes, it'd be smart to distance too.
Well, it's not just wind, it's just diluted, right? So
yeah,
like if we're sharing a room, there's X air molecules in here. And if you have the virus and I don't, then like the density of your molecules that I'm inhaling is much higher, right? But outside, we're just in a giant, I mean, I think, again, this is older, but there's only been one mass infection event in the whole globe that was outside, that according to research of a month ago. Like, so, like,
right. They said China, 7,000 cases, there was one case of it outdoors.
Of like a super spreader type event.
Yeah.
So to me, like as an institution, so individually we're making different choices for ourselves, right? But
Right.
as an institution setting policy, whether you're the government or the schools or the NBA, right? Like, I think your goal, and this I confirmed this with like Zachary Binney when he was on the show, like, but your goal is no super spreader events. You might get an infection, but to me I mean, I'm not an expert, but those kids on the roof, like, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that's likely to be a super spreader event. Like, they're closer than we've been told, but that's
Right.
way better than having half as many kids inside, which is what we're going to
I think
real in our schools.
You tweeted something the other day. I think a map of a county in North Carolina and an outdoor party, and how like a 9 or 10-year-old kid was like the best spreader of, and like 41 people in the account. They did a little tracing, and it all went back to this house party.
Was it an outdoor party though?
I don't know if it was outdoor or not.
I don't think it was outdoor.
It was a family reunion. I don't know if we know it was inside or outside, but yeah.
But speaking of the super spreader event and lots of people in a room, Henry, why don't you share your concerns for your beloved Blazers?
I mean, I just honestly, I'm not
James'
so worried. At this point, they've had 7, 8, 9, 10 tests, but they're saying happy birthday to Damian Lillard, and the camera pans a little bit. I counted 24 people without masks on in tight quarters in a room, fucking singing. It's like the number one thing. It's a joke. It's the most dangerous thing you can do, right? So, my concern is not so much that the Blazers are all going to get infections now. My concern is that the NBA has these rules that say every player is going to wear a mask. Everyone's going to wear a mask except when they're eating or drinking, alone in their room, or outside exercising, or in an approved like indoor exercise thing. These rules. The problem is just the problem we were talking about before. If you let people break the rules some of the time, then it gets super arbitrary. And then it's like the police officer who can pull over anyone. Like, they pull over everyone who speeds, but they're rough punishments for the selected ones, right? This is backroom rulemaking, right? So what we have here for sure is a broad violation of the rules. And I'm just like, well, then what are the rules? They haven't published the rules. And now it's like on video every day, frankly. There's NBA video of people not wearing masks in the bubble. Like, the rules broken every day. And like, so what are the rules is the answer. And to me, like, I don't think there's a scenario where there aren't clear rules and this goes really well, right? Like right now, I think it's something about 70% of negative PCR tests are inaccurate tests, right? So that's why they have so many tests, right? So
yeah.
But they're testing a lot of people. Like, they're trying to have multiple thousands of people, I guess. We don't even know the number, not bring the coronavirus into the bubble. So, like, with that many people, it's possible somebody in that room with the Lillard actually has had the coronavirus all along and just passed the test anyway, right? It's conceivably possible. So,
well, that's the thing, right?
They make these rules, right?
We're already seeing bubble. I mean, players already in the bubble tested positive, right? That's already happened.
No, I don't think we've seen evidence of spread in the bubble.
No spread. I don't think so. Yeah.
But yeah, and I thought the other big loophole here is, by the way, they're on their schedule with no predictability sharing player test results, but they're not sharing, like, the players are minority people in the bubble, right? Like,
they're not like the team administrators and all that.
Yeah.
So every time we see X amount of people tested positive, because I noticed that on the releases we get from the NBA, sometimes there'll be names attached, sometimes not names attached. And if it's not names attached, you assume that it's administrators or whomever. And if it's, but why did the players all sign off on this? Because that's still a HIPAA thing. That if I test positive, you can say that it was me. Like, is that?
Oh, they definitely can't. You would need player permission for sure.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're releasing anything about non-players.
No, I didn't see anyone non-player get released.
The league isn't. So let's say there's 1,500 people in the bubble, Disney employees, coaches, whatever. Like, if there's community spread in the bubble and it just doesn't touch players, we wouldn't know. Right? There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're getting test results every day, right?
Yeah.
Like, just mathematically. But we're not getting announcements every day.
Right.
It's true.
They're testing guys by every early afternoon, and then 3 a.m. or so, you can check their account in their and find out what the results are.
Yeah.
And one of my players, as Henry knows, he just signed with a team and had to quarantine outside the bubble, but near the bubble.
Yeah.
Get 2 negatives, and now he probably just got in the bubble with his 4 more nights of quarantine. before
they-
he went to practice.
David, did he have any tests before he went to the?
He did not. Yeah, he did not. He had never been tested.
and
Because
they're
I asked
having
them
the
about that
sort of
too. I asked them about the fast track entry into the bubble, and they said it depended on tests prior, which means, if he didn't have it, means it's not.
No, he didn't have it, but he didn't know anyone that had it. There was no one in contact with anyone that had it, and I was part of it. And being asymptomatic probably shouldn't matter, but still, he's gonna have 6. Go ahead, Jarod.
I was gonna say, if you didn't get a test, aren't they splitting it up? Like, okay, if you flew in on the team with the charter plane, you only have to do 2 negatives in a row, then you're in. But if you flew commercial, like most of the media did, no, you do 7 days outside of the bubble, 7 consecutive tests, then we let you in.
Well,
So
Harden didn't fly commercial.
He didn't, but that's what I'm saying. And now he
may have chartered a jet.
Maybe.
They might have sent a plane for him.
Tillman sent this plane.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I think Jarod's accurately citing what the league says.
Oh yeah.
The leaked rules say the rules are, but here David knows a firsthand example of seems to not be going that way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
He didn't fly. He was close enough where he drove, but but still, the point is he's only going to have to do 6 consecutive negative tests.
Yeah.
2 outside and 4 inside. And so people are talking about the Holmes kid for Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see just how consistent, it's fair to say. And is there even punishment involved? Right? In other words, if some guys are sitting more than others, we aren't necessarily going to know if it's because he's being punished for his behavior. That is going to be a factor, in my opinion, because he screwed up and intentionally went outside the bubble or whatever. Like their children. It's it's interesting. Somebody joked Harden flew in a helicopter. That's a long helicopter ride from Houston. Harden was not in a helicopter, right?
Oh, but this does dovetail interestingly with the Tillman Fertitta thing, right? He may well have just stepped off a plane with Tillman Fertitta's plane with Houston PD. That's entirely possible. That's how Harden got that mask.
100. Good point.
Oh, yes.
Because Tillman's so tight with the Houston PD.
Gave him $10 million.
Donated money, yeah. And Harden wouldn't have know the difference, yeah. I wouldn't know.
Or maybe he's delighted by his company, right? Like maybe.
Right. Absolutely possible. That's why you have to look into it. Interesting.
Oh, we got our own conspiracy
theory. We got some Sherlock Holmeses here. True sleuthing.
That's the question I would ask. Who gave you that? Where'd you get that?
Boom. How do we get that to him?
Was there a stack of those on the plane?
Yeah, right. You walk on, they're like, here you go. Where are these? I will say, okay, so the 3 of us and Judy and most of us, we've been sort of very like, no, we're not feeling so great about this bubble. But the bubble is here. Are we excited about actually watching basketball again?
Until I talked to Kevin Arnovitz yesterday, yeah.
Oh, no. What did Arnovitz say?
No, dude, sounds like huge accomplishment. Like, chapeau NBA. Like, we'll see how the tests go. But, like, the fact that there's no evidence of spread within the bubble so far is incredible, right? This has been the hardest part. Zachary Binney Smith, I think is that, said that he doesn't know when the test results will come in for the test taken on the 16th. What's today?
So it's 17th.
17th. So yesterday's tests, and by his math, will be the ones that will most importantly, like, positives from yesterday forward would show community spread within the bubble, right? But if the tests are minimal or 0 from whenever we get our next results, then he's like, this bubble's working. So we're just about to the point where I think we can say, nice job, despite assholes like me saying it was never going to work. Like, here we go. Like, so yeah, now I'm starting to get excited about basketball. Yeah, for sure. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be, there's other hiccups, right? When families start coming in. When do the referees arrive?
That's a good question.
Or are these self-officiated games? I got fouled.
Yeah, I got
it would work better.
It would work better. So yeah, and how about announcers? Do we know about that yet?
Oh, I think everybody's on. I think everybody's on the same schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. They're in.
So, but are these going to be? If you're not on national TV, I had a GM say to me, his team isn't so great. He said, I mean, they might make the playoffs, but they're not great. He said his games will be on True TV at 1 a.m. But are they going to be on League Pass? I haven't looked into that.
Yes, they are, because the NBA sent me a note. Hey, League Pass subscription alert. I'm like, wait a minute. I got to pay for this again? For like 4 games, because it's only until the 8th of August, and then all playoff games are free. I'm like, so wait a minute. You were charging me for a full month of League Pass for only 4 days worth of games. Y'all really need money bad, don't you? Okay, I see how it is.
So
you don't pay for those games?
Hell no. No support of the capitalist machine.
The non-national games, though, will be on League Pass then. Okay.
Yes.
So,
the non-national games.
So I've not asked any of my friends that I guess I should have just tested them. Are they going to be calling the games from outside the bubble?
I think it's up to you. So somebody has the deal, right? So some regional sports network has the deal to broadcast these 4 games that they want to charge Jarod for, right? So I think they get to, like, so the Houston area broadcaster or whatever gets to apply to have their guys go and do the games in person.
Okay,
right?
So they will be there. Okay.
Well, it's up to not necessarily, right?
Right. I mean, they have the option.
It costs
my buddy Jim Peterson could be. I have to text Jim for. Oh no, he won't be there.
No, he won't be there.
Minnesota's not in it. Yeah, someone else should hire him. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
he does a great job. Yeah. Yeah. I have to find out.
This whole thing is so interesting, right? So okay, we're gonna get some actual ball being played. I'd be so curious to see, because these guys are creatures of habits, all that. Like, they haven't played together with each other in months, and some guys are probably in really good shape. I'm sure you all saw the photos of Mo Bamba. Looks like he put on 20 pounds of muscle. He looks jacked. I was like, oh my God. But like, what was your skill development like? What were guys doing? And now we gotta, let's, roll this ball out and see how it looks.
I'm texting it.
Totally teasing David's story. Like, he's totally like.
Oh yeah. No, you talked about Mo Bamba in your story.
He's got like basically interpreting the intel from the bubble.
It's okay.
What about that? Scratch Mo Bamba. We're not.
No.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just texted an NBA ref to see when he gets in the bubble. I'm curious when those guys.
I bet he's there.
Because I think so, because they're scrimmaging next week.
Well, no, just because of the science. You can't have people coming all the time. Like, you got to bring the bubble in, and then you got to seal it, right? Like,
yeah.
They just can't have
patches of people. So, Henry, you're saying they're only specific fly-in days. Like, you're only coming in on Mondays to start the week. And if you're not here Monday, you're going to wait till next week to come in.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that, like, Mark Stein had to go at the same time as the players were arriving, right? It's like, because they were setting up the bubble. But I don't.
Okay.
Well, they'll be. I wonder what hotels they'll be at. They buy a 4th hotel for the referee.
If you're doing players call your own fouls, how is it going to work when Harden's out there?
Chris Paul wins every game.
No, but that's
done.
Well, I have 2 pieces of intel here. Number 1, there's no flopping and pickup. None. It just doesn't work, right? That's why I said it worked better. But number 2, we had this. I've talked about this a million times. It's stupid, but like Brent Barry, Steve Smith, Grant Long, and a couple other retired NBA players in media freaking crashed our media pickup for like a whole finals. And they're good. Don't get me wrong. Like, but the reason you want an NBA player on your team is because, like, you would not believe 100% of the time they cheat on the score. So, like, literally, game starts, Brent Barry hits a bucket, 7-0, and it's like, what? Like,
we just started
by this, Brent. like, what the hell? Like, and they're just such competitive. Does this happen in your gym, David? Like it's off the charts. Like, you could be up like 14-2, and then in the NBA players call, it's like 11-11, and like unbelievable.
So we don't play 5-on-5 for fear of injury, but we do a million kind of contests, and oh fuck yeah, they cheat. And they all know it, and it's the greatest parts of my workout. If I could just make a living organizing these things for the sheer joy of the arguments, I'd be a rich man and very happy. Unfortunately, I actually have to do some teaching and coaching, but it's hilarious to hear. And they do it. I'll say this: if you're training with me, you're a quality person, and there's a little love in your heart. when you're calling a guy a fucking liar cheater. It's
Who wins
adorable,
those,
actually.
David? Like,
Huh?
who's the champ? Who's the champ of these arguments in your gym?
I mean, over the years, Corey Brewer's got some shit going on. That's just he's so funny. It's hard to and he's such a genuine person. But I mean, I've had so many guys. Drew Holiday was good at stuff. Like he seems so earnest, but that dude wants to win. They're all super competitive, except for my dumbass son, who doesn't know better. Like he has no chance to beat pros, even if he's shooting great, because he really is going to tell the truth all the time. Yeah. But they can't be losing to a teenager. So yeah, they'll say afterwards, like, yeah, I got you on that one. I had one more. Yeah.
You just raised it wrong, David. That's all.
You raised it wrong.
By the way, you were right, Henry. That my friend said that he's in quarantine now in the bubble. Yeah.
But he's having a blast.
He's in the hotel right now. He's quarantined right now.
To Drew and Lauren Holiday, who Drew is donating the rest of his salary this year to various. I mean, and of course, everyone knows their story and like what Lauren gone through with the childbirth and the brain tumor and all that. But yeah, it just incredible stuff. So
it goes something Henry said though about his WNBA thing. This is not an excuse by any stretch. What Henry said is poignant and right. But I think these guys are going to be there for a while. And I just wonder, Henry, and I'm sure you do too, if we'll start seeing that come in the honeymoon. I think the guys are so happy that they feel safe for the first time in a while to play hoops, whatever. But is the gravity of the situation going to start weighing on some of them? And I think we will get to hopefully some pretty important issues brought up. I suspect that we will. I'm hoping that we do. And people like Henry will ask the right questions to make sure.
I mean, the thing that has me a little shrug on my shoulders today is this almost didn't happen because of the Black Lives Matter. Right? So many players were so preoccupied by the issues of social justice that they almost didn't do this. They almost decided to forego the whole rest of the season. But they had, in the words of Chris Paul, like million Zoom calls, right? So they like issue, talking about this, that, and that. Like, and they settled on a plan of some kind, right? Where is it?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? What was the plan?
Outrage. Here's the thing. Outrage, Henry, of course you're right, but outrage is coming because shit still happens all the time, including like yesterday. We still have situations with police and black men in cars.
But dude, you're talking about a new plan. What is the plan?
I'm just saying that it's going to continue to feed the flames is all I'm saying.
No, I get it. But like, Breonna Taylor's killers are still a large, right? Like, and this was what they were talking about a month ago. And, like other than a Garrett Temple comment here or who else was it who had the funny line? I'm blanking on which player it was. But like, there hasn't been nothing. But it just felt like I had my expectations high that there was going to be a coordinated and overwhelming social justice effort of some kind, and maybe it's to come. Maybe they're waiting for the games to be broadcast. Maybe they're
they can't travel to each other's hotels just yet.
I know, but they have microphones. They're on media every day.
Yeah, they are for sure.
And it's just scattershot, right? It's like
and to Devin's point, Jeremy Grant did in fact.
Jeremy Grant
during his most recent media availability, he talked entirely about Breonna Taylor. I will say this, Henry, and this is something that made me not worried, but America as a nation, sports is so normal for us. Like, once the playing of games happens, that is our normalcy. That is our equilibrium. That is our that's just what, once we see games happening, and my fear is always not that we can't do two things at once. I know that people are capable of doing that. But once the games start, the outrage and all the stuff that you're feeling, but we got basketball and football and baseball. Okay, there's something that happens psychologically to your brain. Like, okay, games, cool, shit's normal. Let's go back to doing what we're doing. And that is, I think, Henry, to what you're talking about. You had all this momentum and fervor, and you had this plan. Well, you're in the bubble now. All I see are bass fishing tournaments and happy birthdays and ping pong.
Cornhole.
Yeah, great, do that. But what? And I love Matisse. Matisse is, inside the bubble blog. But what about the other stuff? That's all. Like, what about that stuff?
I mean, not that I want to put Adam Silver as like the hero here, but he was like, these are the best positioned people in the world to make a difference, right? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Devin's point is excellent, but it's not just about sports. I think that's one of the big problems we had with all of this the surging virus issues all over this country is the idea of going back to restaurants and opening up the economy gave everyone the false feeling of, where things are back to normal, because you started acting normally again. You forgot about the alligator in the creek. Like, we had an alligator in our creek for a little bit. It was a baby alligator. Maybe to take it a finger. My dumbass kids were feeding it frogs, which is not the smart. I didn't know that.
But it's such a hard Florida turn. I'm like, I have whiplash.
Yeah, it's at some point, like, it's a fucking alligator.
So
Can we remember? Can we remember to avoid the creek when we go outside? There's an alligator in there.
Wait.
Life got back to normal again.
This is Judy. This
you
is
turn
so,
your
this
back.
is so Florida.
Like, you turn your back for a second in Florida, and your kids are feeding frogs to a live alligator.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't either. I had no idea they were doing it. And this happened like 5 years ago or more. My wife just told me the other day, our dumbass kids and their friends were feeding frogs to the alligator. We wanted to go back to where it lives, which is far away from us.
It also means there's an alarming number of frogs.
Have you seen this show? It was on the Animal Planet. It's called Growing Up. No, wrong. Not Growing Up Gator. It's a show about a family that they're gator catchers. Like, that's what they do. Mom, dad, brother,
I saw a little highlight of this. Yeah.
Kids, whatever. So it's, first of all, it's one of those things that you turn on and you can't turn away. It's like, this is incredible. So like, they get a call. Hey, I got a pool. I live in wherever I live, Lake Buena Vista, whatever. Yeah. Gators inside my pool. They're like, all right, we'll send somebody out. The look on, because again, the whole family does it. When the daughters show up to get the gator out, and it's usually like, tough macho dudes who are like, whatever. They're like, that's a big gator. And they're like, let the experts handle this. We got it. And it's incredible because these girls, they know exactly what to do. Get the little rope on, jump on the top. And I'm like, what the is going on here? But great show. So look that up. It's some family. They catch gators and they re-release them back into the swamp or whatever. But yeah, it's incredible.
Just to finish the subject, make sure you YouTube the Dale Hughley comedy routine where he talks about gators and his children. Okay. It's beyond hysterical. Yeah, basically, he just has a great little agreement with the gators. Like, I can wear your skin as shoes. You get one of my kids. Hey, that's God's will. It's really funny. It's really classic.
Wait, has anybody read the book Swamplandia?
No.
Swamplandia.
Are you making fun of me again?
No, it's a beautiful book. It's about basically what Jarod's talking about, but it's a novel. It's like one of the best-selling novels of the last several years.
I'm writing this down. It's Swamplandia.
But it is crazy. Judy goes gators like lounging too. Like, Coach, like, I know. I mean, maybe you have a creek near you, but I know.
No, right here. It's right there. Yeah.
But imagine I know you have a pool too. You walk out to your pool and you're gonna go in and the gator's in the bottom of your pool. Like,
my neighbors right here had one trying to get in their backyard screened pool area to get their dog. We don't, but keep in mind, I've seen one. It was, I didn't see this baby one that was lost. I saw one like 6 houses down. One time, I've lived here 10 years now. And we have a huge lake. I could hit a golf ball to this lake if I was lucky. And if it floods, these things get lost and they get in our creek, whatever. But normally they don't come around here.
So, like, more than 10 years ago, David lived in a different house, and I was in a Tampa hotel for business and went over to his house for dinner and explained that I had gone for a jog outside my hotel. And they're like, oh, like, where's your hotel? And they're like, oh, just make sure you don't jog near any bodies of water. And I'm playing it back in my head, and like 100% of my run was with like big reeds and then water.
Oh, you're like in their natural habitat. What are you doing?
I'm pretty sure I said just don't go swimming afterwards. Like, that's the one thing you're not from Florida is if you jump into any body of water, unless it's salt water.
Hell no.
You don't do that in Florida.
At that point, I was nervous to drive my car near water.
We don't, when I was growing up, there wasn't a gator problem. And I'm glad to say that we have a lot of gators now because we stopped killing them for no reason. But yeah, I mean, I've seen, I think in my whole life, 3 that weren't in the Everglades, and I'm 55. So
I mean,
I feel
I'm a
pretty
pacifist and everything. If there's a gator in my backyard, I'm going to try to kill it. Like,
they're not as pesky as wasps. Like, I don't like wasps, but I can deal with gators just fine. Just avoid them.
That's wrong.
I disagree. It's got to be a jarring sight, though, right? You see that large, you're like, what the?
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
When I go golfing, I do tell people, I haven't gone in a long time, watch my back if you're anywhere near a body of water. Not that they eat humans typically, but I don't want to be the experiment.
Well, as you know, there's so many golf courses in Florida, and of course, one of the famous ones is TPC Sawgrass, right? And so every time like a player hits the ball near the Water Island Green on 17, or they're standing at one of the edges, the cameras love showing, oh look, there's a big gator with its mouth open, and you're like,
oh yeah. We live by two golf courses.
Humans.
There's like
they do not eat humans.
My son is like sports that people die doing. He, you know, like there's a Red Bull thing where people go to the middle of the desert where there's giant cliffs, and then they'd ride their bicycles straight down the cliff.
I've seen that.
I swear to God, that's what happened. And we watch this, and you know, and I say sometimes, you know, I used to like to do a lot of sports like that, and I'm basically like, yeah, I like risky things, but I don't like things where you could die. And only now am I learning that hanging out in the Thorpe's backyard or golfing are those things. Like, what
you might die.
Can we return for just a second to how you dress when you get your takeout food at the door?
I did notice that in the memo.
It kind of got buried, right? It's like, oh, do this and come dressed appropriately. Which, to your point, boxers are. You ain't getting a memo for boxers. So
I mean, I don't know.
Something way worse. I don't even know.
Like, so okay, like I got a phone call before they all went in the bubble from somebody who worked in the NBA for a long time, and he said things that, you know, if I just repeated them, I think could be taken as racist, right? The idea is basically there's just like tons of sex in the NBA, and you got to watch out, and like everyone who passes through is at risk of, you know, some kind of sexual assault, right? Out of context, it sounds terrible, and I didn't want to like share that, but it's like, but this is the, right. You know, people who are close to the NBA have these kinds of concerns, right? Meanwhile, we have real example of like hotel staff being assaulted or allegedly assaulted, right? Like this is a lot, like there are a certain number of young employees locked in the bubble with whatever these, you know, whatever's going on, right? Like when they showed like, oh, the players are arriving and there's like a 23-year-old woman driving the little golf cart, taking the player to their room or whatever. This is what my source would say is a risk factor, right? Like careful if your kids work at the concierge desk, right? Maybe not this week, next week, but like over time, the idea is that like there's just not a lot of sexual opportunity in the bubble, right? Hotel employees would be at risk, it would seem. You know, it sounds crazy, and this isn't really my observation. I don't know about NBA sex lives, but that's what struck me when I saw that was like, okay, like something happened along those lines, right? There's like a.
And you are correct, Henry, to treat that with care, because look, part of what we love about this is like you got to have some room for some levity in here, right? But we need to be very careful about this because we know the history of how Black men are perceived as sexual predators and overly sexually aggressive and all of these things. That isn't a Black man thing. That is a man thing.
Right,
Point,
exactly.
Full stop. That's a man
right.
thing.
That's
if
right.
this is football players who, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or NHL players who are predominantly white, same thing. That's a man thing. Men tend to be predators from a sexual perspective. That's that. That part, though, about the hotel and the sexual misconduct, that is a fair point to be concerned about, right? You're in this enclosed space, and you know, in theory and in practice, you're not supposed to be bringing people out there. It's just whatever you got. Well, I mean, if there's only a small pool, that is a real concern to have. And I don't know if you guys saw this. Let's call her a female who knows NBA players. Shared a tweet on Twitter that said, I've already got invited to the bubble. This season isn't going to end it isn't going to continue. It's going to end way before. And everybody got jokes out of it because it was funny, like, you know, and then Spencer did when he was talking to Taylor Rooks, and one of his pieces of advice was, don't fly out LA work to the bubble. And, you know, everyone knows when you say don't fly out LA work, what that means, right? So like, that's a real thing to be concerned about, right? The idea of, are these guys going to fly in companions? But again, just to be clear and fair, and Henry, you did do a good job of that. This isn't an NBA thing, right? This is a male thing, and men who are involved in sports, they do that. That's a thing.
And the way you become an elite athlete is having very high testosterone,
yes.
right? And on top of that, like if you walk into a regular NBA hotel during the regular season, the Four Seasons in Philadelphia on a Tuesday night when the Orlando Magic are staying there are women in that hotel who are there for the purpose of hoping to find an NBA player to do something with, right? Like, so the only thing I'm saying there is, if you're an NBA player, you're accustomed to a ton of sexual opportunity, right? That's like a habit, right? And not that, I mean, I think there are lots of now compared to when I started covering the league, I think there are tons of like good, honest marriages in the NBA and like, et cetera, right? But yeah, this is like, this is a new idea. This is a new environment for all involved. And it comes with certain risks.
If you ever worked for a company and gone on a corporate retreat or whatever, things that you're talking about, that's the thing that happens on those retreats, okay? And I'm going to leave it there. So just be mindful. Again, the NBA is just a subset of the larger society in which it inhabits. These things go on literally everywhere. But, it's going to get certain news because it's the NBA.
And how many people will be there in the bubble that aren't NBA players, right? You've got coaches and media alone, not to mention all sorts of other support staff. And I don't know how many are men, but any women that are there that are single, they're allowed to live their lives. Some of them will be there for months. Like there's just a lot to pay attention to. I know that the players that I've talked to, I've just constantly said the same thing. Be safe, and safe means a lot of things. That's what I'm saying. Be safe, and safe means a lot of things. It's not just about be virus safe. Be safe, period. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, and none of them have ever lived in a bubble before. They think they live in a fishbowl when they're the star player of their team. This is really the magnifying glass in a way like never before. Yeah. It's but to go back to your initial point, Jarod, of just about games, I'm not excited yet. I'm looking forward to seeing the scrimmages. And then, I mean, just because I'm watching games every day all the time anyway. They're just games that have already been played many times over sometimes on Synergy. But, it'll be nice to not know what's happening next because I know what's going on when I'm watching these things. The scrimmages will be fun. And I think, Henry and I talked yesterday, I think a number of them are going to be televised. Mm-hmm. That'll be good. Just I'm curious to see if anyone, I wrote about this last time, our team can do something different. In my article today, we talk about Ben Simmons playing more power forward. He's played power forward before. Is someone going to do something different when Henry talked about Brad Stevens bringing joy? Well, maybe joy means an extra 25 threes a game. Like, I don't know, or trapping everything. Like, yeah. I and especially these teams seeded 5 through 8. Like, you have nothing to lose. No one's expecting you to beat these teams. And you've had time to put some new stuff in that you didn't have before. You still had to win a bunch of games to qualify, and you didn't want to change it up. But now, like I told Henry, one GM told me, we're going to play super fast and let it fly.
Yeah, why not?
How they play fast, I don't know. How they're going to get more threes up, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But there could be some really fun things happening.
I also want to see which player comes back and had the ability to, because not everyone has access to courts and all that.
Yeah.
But use we were down for 4 months? Use that 4 months to hone in on a specific skill set and really I'm ready to bust this out now in some of these scrimmages and show it in the game.
Damian Lillard, if I owned a casino, there'd be a betting line. How many 40-foot threes is he going to take a game? And it might be over under of 3 or 4. It's not going to be just one. He is going to let that thing fly. Good. Like he should. He's a great shooter from there, right? And that's going to open things up hugely for Collins and Nurkic and Skinny Melo.
Yeah, Melo's looking good. I was like, whoa, look at Melo.
I mentioned him in the article today, too.
Yeah. Of course he's good at 40-foot threes, as Paul George knows. Not guarding him out there in the playoffs last year.
Right. It's true.
Bad move.
Oh, I hope they can meet again. I hope it can be Paul George on Lillard again. It's not going to happen, but that'd be great.
Barkley said some silly thing. I don't really watch that show ever, but I read about it. But I did see one line where Barkley said, I didn't know they were doing a show every Thursday night until yesterday. My wife had a call with her sisters, so I had time to watch my own stuff. He said that he wants to see Houston versus the Thunder.
Ooh, yeah,
he's not wrong. The Chris Paul versus that might be And a hell of a series. Oklahoma City's good. Like,
would it be? I was gonna say, would it be weird if I'm like, I might pick the Thunder in that one?
oh no,
the Rockets are missing some players, right? Like,
right. Westbrook's not even there yet.
That's true. Yeah.
And I don't know if he's symptomatic. Eric Bledsoe, they just announced
Positive test. Yeah.
is asymptomatic, but was positive. But I've not read where Westbrook is symptomatic or not. And that does make a difference for your fitness.
Yeah.
So there was one report that he had mild symptoms, and the team wouldn't say if he had symptoms or not.
But even if it was just mild, Henry, then, and we know this just from talking to really smart science writers, hey, you shut it down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to take, okay, if you're asymptomatic, you at least can do some stuff from what I've been reading. And I know players who have had asymptomatic, they just trained a little bit like normal. They just didn't go overboard. But if you're symptomatic at all, no, and so if Russell, and now Westbrook's crazy in a good way. Henry knows the story. My brother once had to sit in an operating room with he's a radiologist with a Heat player. I won't say who it was. And the surgery he had did not require a cast being put on after the surgery on this body part. And my brother said it was his first time ever being on a surgery for this NBA team. And they said, well, if we don't cast him up, he'll be in the weight room tomorrow.
Jesus.
Like, that's Westbrook.
Nuts.
Like, you're going to have to tie Westbrook down to make sure he doesn't train. But either way, it's going to have an impact. So to your point, I think the Thunder could beat the Rockets. Absolutely. Steven Adams is a beast. Like, he's the one guy that can make P.J. Tucker look tiny. P.J. Tucker.
And I love that 3-guard lineup with Chris and Shea and oh, God, why is his name escaping me?
And Schroeder.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I love that. Like, that's problems. Oh, Devin Bilal had a good question. Who do we think will be disappointing on the restart? I'm thinking imagine teams.
The Kings.
Well, right now, Fox is hurt. So what is he asking? Who will be? Oh, who do I? Yeah. What players we think will be disappointing?
Teams, players or teams.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that I'm not worried about anyone that way. The teams that aren't so great won't be so great probably. I am a little concerned about the Nuggets, but not because of Jokic being skinny. And he is skinny. Yeah. That excites me. And Henry knows I was tweeting about him when he was really heavy, and people were yelling at me for saying he'll never be any good if he lost weight, as if he was always fat, which he wasn't. Look at his pictures. When he first got in the league, he wasn't so big. He got much bigger. And but he lost 25 pounds on his own during the season and was playing fucking great by the end of it. Yeah.
What's 30 or 40 more?
Right, exactly, which I agree with. I think he needed to lose it. He's not my biggest concern. I'm answering the question. Jamal Murray looked bigger to me, but I didn't ever see him without a shirt on before. He did look like gained muscle. I don't think it matters much for most guards. They're strong enough. I can see a wrestling match there, though, between is it Murray's team, is it Jokic's team? They've had all this time off. It needs to be Jokic's team.
Right.
Jamal Murray is a nice player, borderline 12th All-Star. Jokic is a franchise changer.
He's all NBA.
Yeah, I mean, he's MVP level talent. And so I'm not so sure that team. And the West is loaded. Like, after the top two, there's a lot of other teams that could pull an upset there. So I'm not high on
Denver. One of their X factors, and this isn't surprising, if they're going to make a push, is what they can get from Porter Jr. Because I think he's got tremendous upside as like an off the bench guy. I mean, he can just fill it up, right? I mean, and we saw flashes of that this season before it got slowed down. And if he got the time off and that helps the back, the 4 months of like not doing anything, that could be good for them.
When's the last time we talked about anything like this?
Now we're out of time. We gotta go.
Michael Porter Jr. Yeah, we're out of time. Perfect ending.
Basketball. Stop the show. All right, thank you.
Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. talk.
See you next week.
Be safe, everyone.